BTS has outgrown every major domestic venue. The words echoed across social media, news broadcasts, and fan communities with the force of an earthquake. It wasn't a rumor this time. It wasn't speculation. It was an admission, plain and unmistakable. South Korea no longer had a stadium big enough to hold the kind of crowd BTS could summon. For a moment, the world stopped. And then it erupted. People who had seen this coming for years felt vindicated. Others were stunned, even confused. After all, South Korea had built arenas, domes, and Olympic structures meant to host global events. Yet somehow, 7 young men from Seoul, 7 artists who had started in a small practice room, had surpassed all of it. Their music, their influence, their reach had expanded so rapidly that the very infrastructure of the country could no longer keep up. The official statement didn't say much, but it didn't have to. The implications were enormous. The authorities acknowledged an urgent need to build a world-class stadium capable not only of hosting BTS concerts, but of welcoming millions of international visitors drawn by the group's gravitational pull. It wasn't just about size. It was about cultural magnitude. BTS wasn't simply performing anymore. They were creating global events, drawing fans from over 100 countries, each performance becoming a pilgrimage destination for ARMY and curious newcomers alike. But to understand why the announcement hit with such force, you have to rewind the story. Back to the years when BTS was repeatedly underestimated, their potential dismissed as a passing trend. Even as they filled venue after venue, breaking attendance records in the United States, the United Kingdom, Latin America, Japan, and beyond, South Korea's largest stadiums, once considered towering giants, started to feel small by comparison. Tickets vanished in seconds, traffic reports broke records, hotels filled months ahead, and still, there were never enough seats. Behind the scenes, officials had begun to notice something unusual. Whenever BTS held a concert abroad, tourism figures in those countries surged. Local economies boomed. Cities reported revenue spikes in transportation, hospitality, merchandise sales, even museum attendance. Some analysts quietly started referring to it as the BTS economic effect, a phenomenon so powerful it was studied internationally. So when the group returned home, the government knew what was coming. They prepared. Or at least, they thought they did. But nothing prepared them for the moment BTS stepped back on home soil after their latest global run. Fans poured in from every direction. Airports, train stations, borders. Within hours, Seoul's most iconic venues were overwhelmed. Every ticket to every event disappeared instantly, leaving millions still searching, refreshing, hoping. And that's when the truth became undeniable. South Korea needed something bigger. Much bigger. At first, the authorities hoped to quietly explore solutions. Could existing venues be expanded? Could temporary structures be built? Could the events be split across multiple nights? But every pathway hit the same wall. BTS wasn't just performing concerts. They were staging monumental cultural moments. Moments that demanded a single space big enough to unify hundreds of thousands of people at once. That's when the conversations shifted. Behind closed doors, planners, architects, and cultural strategists began discussing something almost unthinkable. A new global stadium designed from the ground up not only for scale, but for the kind of immersive, high-tech, ultra-synchronized performances BTS was known for. A venue that could stand alongside the world's largest arenas, a landmark capable of hosting international events, award shows, festivals, and historic concerts long after BTS had taken their final bow, whenever that day may come. And then came the twist no one saw coming. The government admitted that the new stadium wouldn't merely be a national project. It would be a cultural infrastructure initiative, shaped not by old standards, but by the very forces that BTS had unleashed. The blueprints circulating among officials were unlike anything the country had ever imagined. Sustainable energy systems, holographic performance capabilities, adaptive seating, AI-driven acoustics, and a design meant to welcome fans from every corner of the planet. It wasn't just a building, it was a declaration. A declaration that BTS wasn't simply a boy band. They were a cultural force powerful enough to reshape literal architecture. A force that had pushed a nation to dream bigger, build bigger, and think bigger than ever before. And as the news spread, something remarkable happened. Instead of dividing opinions or sparking controversy, the idea ignited inspiration. Fans saw it as a tribute. Citizens saw it as an opportunity. Economists saw it as a new era for tourism, and city planners saw it as a futuristic symbol of South Korea's creative power. But the most moving reaction came from fans who had been with BTS since the beginning. Fans who remembered small stages, half-empty rooms, and tightly packed local events. They understood better than anyone what this meant. A stadium this size wasn't just about capacity. It was about legacy, permanence, a promise carved into steel and concrete that the movement BTS had started was here to stay. So, as we reach this moment in the story, a moment still unfolding, still alive, you might be wondering what comes next. Will the stadium be built? Will the blueprints become reality? Will BTS one day step onto a home country stage that finally matches the enormity of their global reach? Those answers aren't written yet. They're still being shaped in real time by millions of voices, millions of dreams, and a cultural momentum that shows no signs of slowing down. But there is one thing you can do, one simple action that keeps the story moving.